Chelsea are about to stun everyone. It isn't just the transfers that we're about to speak on. It's what next season looks like. This shouldn't be ignored. This can't be ignored. We have to talk about it right now because they look brilliant at the Club World Cup. They've signed fantastic players and they're still not done. And for some reason, I feel like they're being slept on. For some reason, I feel like we're not taking Chelsea as seriously as we should be. So like, subscribe right now, share this across your social media platforms. Just over a month ago, I did a video about Chelsea that was titled Chelsea, what was it called? Chelsea Will Shock You, is what I said. And I spoke there about how I think I got my João Pedro take wrong. I was watching them at the Club World Cup, how they ended last season. And I stand on that wholeheartedly. But people are still confused by Chelsea. People are still not getting it. I saw this tweet today from a big Arsenal account saying they don't understand Chelsea's strategy, what they're trying to achieve, what their plan is. And we'll come back to this tweet a little bit later. But of course, Chelsea have now formally announced the signing of Hato. He's a Chelsea player. He's a blue, 43 million euros, done, dusted, and over the line. Another fantastic piece of business for Chelsea to add to their plethora of young talent and their ever-growing and ever-improving squad. We all know how good this young man is. We all know what he possesses. We all know what he can bring to Chelsea. We know this already. Every single one of us knows this. And then it's what's about to come next. And I think this is what is so key. Because Xavi from RB Leipzig will come through the door. A creative 10. A playmaker that can operate in the wide positions. Ranked amongst Europe's top under 23-year-old players for key passes and assists. And progressive carries. So when you rate him against all other 23s in Europe, he's right up there with everybody else. Can play 4-3-3, can play 3-2-4-1, and has experience in a number of systems. Then they're moving on to Alejandro Garnacho, and people are laughing at this. I want the deal to happen. Man United win from a player versus club battle. We need to move on from him because he's not going to work at our club. But there is a fundamental difference, a clear distinction, a massive dichotomy, a Grand Canyon-sized gap between me believing that Garnacho leaving Man United is the correct decision versus him being a bad football player. When I see people speak on him and say he's absolute trash, there's nothing good about him, well, there's an objective challenge here, which is then why does a club, ironically a lot of these people rate Chelsea, why is a club of Chelsea stature wanting to buy him? If you look at other suitors across Europe, it's not Luton Town that want him. It isn't Grimsby. It isn't Hokey Pokey FC from out the back end, arse end of Timbuktu. It's one of the biggest, best and most successful teams in the world want to sign him. There is some significance in that. Garnacho's also going to have the bit between his teeth. We can't pretend about this. He is going to want to prove Man United wrong. Now, I don't think we are wrong for moving him on. The relationship has broken down, but that doesn't undermine his ability. He is direct. I think he'll go into Chelsea and be fearless. And I believe he's going to end up being a success. I believe he's going to go in, score more goals than he has done for Man United so far. I believe he can even work himself into the first team on a regular basis. And I rate Gittins, by the way. But I think Garnacho is just going to go there with this overwhelmingly high level of motivation. But he's also going to go into an environment where he'll have his wings clipped in the right way. Enzo and Caicedo, Palmer, Reece James, Colwell, Cucurella, they are not going to allow him to maybe have some of the arrogant thoughts and behaviours that he did at Manchester United. Horses for courses would be the phrase I would use to boil this down. Then you start looking at Chelsea overall. You know, we know Hato has come in to help with, I think they see him as a fullback more than a centre-back, but it's both areas that he'll cover. Lavia is going to return to this team. You have the very dynamic, the very, very strong, I think by the end of this season could be seen as one of the best, if not the best, midfield partnership in the league of Enzo Caicedo and Cole Palmer, of course backed up by Xavi that's coming in. Adding a creator, adding someone who is a decent finisher. And there's a lot of criticism on the Top 6 show. That's on my main channel, The Football Terrace. Go and check. If you haven't watched The Football Terrace, just search Football Terrace, find my main channel, go and subscribe. On Friday, we were talking about this, and Don made a point that he could be one of the best wingers in the league if he adds a few more goals. He kind of half backtracked a little bit when he was challenged on it. But I do think that. I mean, the average amount of goals scored per season by wingers in the Premier League is 4 to 5. Garnacho's averaging 6 to 7. So he's already above the average. And that's been in a team that's been very dysfunctional and a system that he didn't fit into. You put him into a better team that is more functional, that wants him, he can start adding an extra 4 or 5 goals a season to that tally. And yes, you have the outliers that are aliens, that wide players like Mo Salah, who are scoring 20 plus goals a year in the league. But Alejandro Garnacho, I think, has got the ability to score well above the average. In fact, double the average of other wingers in the league. And maybe even a little bit more, a little bit of VAT on top. So you add that all in, and I look at Chelsea, and they're going to stun people. Anybody writing... Listen, the goalkeeper is still a concern in terms of getting over that line and winning the league. I'm not going to change my mind on that. I'm not going to suddenly rewrite my views and my opinions on this. I stand on them. That is still going to be an area of an issue. But if you look at the 2024-25 problems, there was an over-reliance on Palmer. I think they lacked quality on the wings, and they definitely lacked directness when Jadon Sancho was playing. And I felt they were kind of predictable in their attack at times because there was such an over-reliance on Palmer, and because their wingers, the ones that were good enough to take players on, don't score or assist enough. And I think they're adding that into the team. Having Xavi in, I see him doing much better than Nkunku, much better than João Felix did. Garnacho stretching that wide play, being direct, and I think he'll start off on the bench. And I've always felt Garnacho in the last 25 minutes of the game is when he's at his absolute most dangerous. He didn't score, but if you go back and watch that Europa League final, when I felt he should have come on a little bit sooner because I still wanted to win the tournament, he came on and really changed things up a little bit. And I think there'll be more fluidity and more rotation in that front line, which will make it more difficult to stop them. We already know there is going to be a rise in mentality and a sort of title level sharpness to this team. That last 6 games of the season, their brilliance over the Club World Cup is going to raise their mentality, raise their confidence, and bring them so close together. The Chelsea fans are going to demand a title push. Why would they not? That's their bread and butter. Could they win the league? Look, maybe. Maybe they can. Liverpool are the favourites. I'm not going to change my mind about that at this particular moment, at this juncture. They are the favourites. No doubt about that whatsoever in my mind. That being said, I do think that João Pedro and Delap, I do believe that Garnacho and Xavi add a whole different dimension to the way Chelsea will attack next year. And they were one game away from going top at Christmas. And then for the next 3 months, they just couldn't score enough goals or create enough chances across their team. I think they've addressed it well. And back to that tweet that we spoke about earlier on in the show. Can somebody explain the strategy? And for me, everybody knows what the strategy is. They just pretend they haven't heard it before. And we get this so much now in the football content creation world, fan content world, and it's become boring. Let's go through these names, because there's a mixture here of mistakes, fantastic purchases, players to flip, and players for the future. And we're acting like we don't know what all 4 of these things are. Of course, when you look on here, Aubameyang, you've got Sterling, you've got Mudryk, and Nkunku, João Felix. Flops. Flops. Yeah, flops. João Felix, they're selling on and making their money back. Mahalo Mudryk, they can't really control. Sterling, we understand why that was bad. And look, you got Aubameyang. They moved him on pretty quickly and got rid of that problem straight away. You start looking at other players on there, Fofanas, Angelos, Washingtons as examples, and a few other names. Guiu. These players for me were never that serious. They were always players that were brought in, 5 million, 6 millions, 10 millions. They will all be sold for a profit. Yes, Chelsea have spent, I think, 1.6, 1.7 billion euros on players since Clearlake came in. But everybody with a brain knows that 600 to 700 million of that is on players that they will flip 2 to 3 to 4 years in to make money. So that's another big percentage. Then you look, for instance, you've got Garnacho that they put his name. Garnacho, Simmons, Gittins, João Pedro, Delap. Those 5 are coming in as upgrades on players that have flopped and additions to make the team better. They are going into their 4th year of Clearlake, by the way. Then you have some signings that have done well. Like Jackson did well. Neto's done well as an example in there. And then you have the Palmers of this world who have been absolutely fantastic. There's ones for the future as well. Some of this summer is for the future. But then you've got the likes of Esteval in there that we know are for the future as well. And even if he doesn't quite work out, there will be sell-on value in that player. And I think for me, that's probably the most... It is in 2 years' time. It's signed in 2 years since Blue... Again, it's wrong as well because they haven't signed it 2 years. It's 3 summers ago. They're going into their 4th year. Again, a very disingenuous tweet. And I'm just bored of this conversation around Chelsea. Chelsea had a very clear strategy. Buy loads of players for the future. Some will make it, some will flop. They started that after their first summer where they bought a lot of experienced players and they just got it wrong. Some of the players are in the middle of that tweet. But their financial strategy was they spend very top heavy at the beginning. They've done that by 1, investing money, 2, selling assets. Let's invest at the beginning. And we think we can make... And again, if they were to make double the money back on all the players they're flipping, over the course of 5 years, it'll cost them nothing to have bought this squad when you actually factor it all in. But even if they're not doubling their money on these players, they're going to cover a large percentage of their squad build by the players that they flip. Garnacho could be one of them. There's talk he could go there for as little as 30 million, which I'd be disappointed with. Even if he does okay, they'll probably sell him on for 35, 40 million and actually make a profit on their trading accounts on him. Even if we use the very inaccurate net spend calculator, they'll probably make a profit on him. And that's the bit here. Chelsea know how to do the financial business very well. So everybody panicking, everyone moaning, everyone crying, read more, listen more, and react less. And maybe you'll get it. But as far as I'm concerned, Chelsea are going to stun people this season. They've done fantastic business. They've got more to come. But I want your views and I want your opinions on this in the comment section below. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon.